welcome. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 11th of April Draft Annual Plan 26-27 hearing. We have no apologies today except for me for a slightly early departure. Does anyone have any declarations of interest? If you do, just give us a yell.
I don't, but just an apology from Nathaniel. Yeah.
And also apologies from me for possible early departure as well. Thank you.
Sam's moving the apologies and Victoria's seconding them. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Thanks, it's carried. Right. Philippa, please. Thank you very much for coming in on a Saturday.
Thank you for all being here on a Saturday.
Fire away, the floor is yours.
Okay, my written submission and the other one that I put in explains what my position is and what I'd like the council to do and why I think it's important for the council to do it. I'm very conscious that the council's been wonderful custodian of the heritage that it has, especially the Nurses' Chapel, which is wonderfully restored now.
Excuse me one sec. Tyler, could you just move that a little bit down or closer or something? Yeah, that's the story. Thank you.
Sorry.
Mate. Thank you.
Always find it a bit of a challenge, these things. Yep, so just a disclaimer about me. Yes, I'm an Anglican. Yes, I've donated to I put my money where my mouth is, donated to the cathedral reinstatement, although it's absent a lotto win, it's nothing, it's a drop in the bucket. But this is an important space. You've heard from the business people why it's important to restore it. I'm young enough to have lived in London after the war and remembered the empty bomb sites, which were a blight on the streets. And I don't want to see that continuing for our square. Thank you.
Right. Oh, that's it. Is it anyone got any questions of Philippa? You're very clear, and it sort of echoes a lot of what we've been hearing. So thank you very much for coming to the trouble of coming in to see us. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Thomas, please.
Thank you for having me. Cool. How's it? Oh, cool. Which direction do I point this?
Any minute now, mate. There we go.
So I'm speaking. Not sure if that's the right one. So I'm speaking on two things here. So you can see the car. So I currently live in the social housing at 10 Martinsdale Road. This is what happened to my car when I decided to park it on the road. I currently use one of the garages on 8 Martinsdale Road, which you guys are talking about selling off. So I've spent the last 3 days going around Hefgate with a petition to turn 8 Martinsdale into a community garden. I've got around 150 signatures in 4 days, and most of the people yeah, could you move it? Because so basically I've been talking to people in the community. In 2022 I applied through the community board to turn 8 Martinsdale into a community garden. I'm actively involved with the Canterbury Community Garden Association, so it has been a passion project for me. I have talked to over 150 members in Christ. Back.
Yep. I'm just looking where 8 Martindale's Road is on my page. Sorry, carry on, Thomas. Yeah.
So right now, I've been told by Nathaniel that the property is up for sale, which for me is a real big problem, because when I moved in, I was given 3 options for housing. I chose this house because it did have a garage, and I thought that I'd explained it to Otatahi and they didn't tell me it wasn't their land. I was implied that that would be for me, and I've made plans and done things based on the fact that I had this garden, and as a resident of the social housing complex, I have tried to work with Otatahi, and every step of the way they have basically said no to expanding on into the grass areas for gardening or anything like that. So I've got no space to grow any vegetables in a significant proportion. So this is why I came up with the idea with the community garden, is that we can put planter boxes on the site. And I've talked to, there's a Rangatamariki house right next to it, and I've got 3 of the workers to sign it, and they are really keen to get involved. I've had one of the guys who's been trying to get a men's shed, and because we've got 4 garages and 2 of them empty, we could potentially turn it into a men's shed. And as I said, I have not gone all of Hefka. I've gone up Martinsdale Road. I've done all the side roads off that, the road down past the church, Station Road on the other side, and all 3 side roads around the thing. And the consensus is we don't really want any more townhouses in the area. And I think taking it over as a community garden is the perfect solution for the area. And the consensus is overwhelmingly about 80 to 90% of people are in favour of retaining it as a community garden. It can actually encourage more community connections. A big common thing is we don't want any more, common complaint was we don't want any more crappy townhouses or tall houses coming into the area. People want, the aesthetic is it's semi-rural, so people are really keen to keep it as it is, and that's the one that I want to speak on. The second part of my thing is I have talked to Reuben Davidson, Vanessa Wenick, Tracy McLeland, Kaharangi Kata, and Jamie Arbuckle. I have 5 letters of support to start a food forest project in the red zone from these MPs. This is one of my passion projects. I came to talk to you into a long-term plan on this. I've consulted, as most of you know, I stood for mayor last year. It was this is probably the biggest campaign promise that I have stood for. It is the main drive that I have for standing in council. I do believe that if we could convert Retreat Road, Avonside Drive, and work with existing infrastructures like Climate Action Campus, Richmond Garden, I also want to slowly add over the next 10, 15 years more fruit trees, because more people are concerned about their food security right now. It is a common complaint, and I think as the founding member of the Christchurch Foraging Club, which has now actually reached 300 members on Facebook, we go out every weekend on Sunday. I'm talking to people about eating wheat.
Thomas, you've used up a bit of time, but there's 2 questions that people had their hands up, so I'll get them to ask them. Pauline first.
Thank you. Hey, with the proposal for a community garden in Heathcote, would you envisage a food growing area, or would you envisage it being just a reserve and green space with maybe some trees on it? Do you have a preference?
Planter boxes with vegetables going in. They're already in Bridle Path Road. We already have the food forest, which is already herbs and fruit trees and stuff like that. So I don't want to add any more trees. There's heaps of trees.
So you want it for food growing vegetables?
Yeah, it's primary food growing. It fits the theme.
And the people that have signed up that are keen on that, are they also keen to put the time in? That's the question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I've got Brent. There's several of the people in the social housing that will help out, and I've got the Aronga Tamariki workers have said this will be great. They're going to get their kids involved, so we'll be actually teaching kids on growing vegetables.
Thank you.
I've had
And lastly, Tyler, please.
I'm good. Thank you. I'm good.
Oh, you're all good. Sorry. Yep. So thank you, Thomas. You made your point very clear, and we'll see how we get on.
cool.
Thank you. Thanks for making the time to come in. So we've got some people who aren't quite here online yet, but I see Ian's here. Sorry.
Does that just get encapsulated in the submissions from the staff and their comments, and we would, yeah, thank you.
It's not lost. Yeah. So thank you for arriving a bit early, Ian. That's good.
I've been nice to my dad.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Ian Healy. I live in Brookhaven, Wolston area, and right on Ferry Road. And I'm just concerned about the massive rate rises we keep getting year after year, and this year in particular. I'm just trying to think where it's justified, especially for old people. There's no way we can afford these massive rises in rates. Something needs to be done about that. And the other thing, a lot of the money's going on our bloody roads. Ferry Road, bumper to bumper every morning, from Cathedral Square to the sea. And every evening the same thing, and some other days all day. It's just a nightmare. The fumes, the noise, the damage to the road, which needs constant repairing. And it appears that no sooner is one bit fixed than if some other outfit comes along and digs it all up again. You need to have some organisation amongst the contractors to save a huge amount of money, because, I mean, if they're digging it up for one thing, they might as well be utilise the time and work to do the next thing, or several things at once maybe. I proposed this when I was in the MOT years and years ago. Many times I've proposed this. And they just keep doing exactly the same thing again with some excuse that, oh, it's not part of this year's rating allowance. Anyway, so it needs to be better organised, big time. And there's a couple of little things. For example, I've got the horse paddocks that Oriana rents behind my house. And last year I was horrified in the middle of that big fire season to see the grass higher than my head. And I rang up, and nothing was ever done. And then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago in fact, they mowed it 3 times in a row.
That's because we heard you were coming in.
And all that's done in the time that it was growing like it was, millions of rats and mice have infested the area and bred in there. And now all of a sudden the grass is gone, so they've all come into everybody's houses. I've caught thousands of them. I've got 2 wee dogs, they've caught hundreds each. And I've got, my whole ceiling is just full of rat bait. I've got a lot of them now, but it's been a nightmare. Keep you awake all night. They eat all the cables. When I first moved into the area, we had this problem too, which we've been on top of for a while. They ate refrigerators, fridge freezers, they ate the washing machine cables, they ate my stove cables, they ate everything. Cleaned the bloody house out, in fact. And it's just been repeated again, this overgrown grass. And I see they're selling it now. I see for sale signs. So I don't know what's going on there, I haven't been told a thing. So I thought it was, I bought that property on the understanding that it was going to be a reserve. And doesn't look like it. Again, we haven't been informed.
Did you say you were in Brookhaven?
Yes.
So what street's the reserve on? What street's this particular section on, sorry?
It's behind my house at 787 Ferry Road.
Polana Street, I think it's the
Polana Road, corner of Ferry Road.
Okay. Right, we have got a couple of questions. Kel?
Just very quickly, Ian, thanks for your presentation. In terms of the continual rates rises, have you got any suggestions as to how we might, any thoughts you've got on how we might save money?
Well, now I'm aware that the thing's being sold. I was going to mention that it should be regularly mowed, but I don't know who's responsible for that now. Yeah.
So you don't have any thoughts on what we could do to reduce the rates?
No.
No? Okay.
It needs to be examined. A lot of people spoken to about it. Yeah.
Thank you. Aaron, please.
I'm just the other thing I'm
Oh,
horrified.
sorry. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Carry on. Carry on.
Yeah, just horrified why we're blowing all this money on that cathedral. I mean, I'm an Anglican myself, but I mean, if billionaires want to bloody have a great big, huge, obsolete, falling down cathedral plunked in the middle of our city, when we had the option of one from California, it was much better looking, much more earthquake proof, and that was put forward way back at the start. And these clowns just jumped on the bandwagon and want to rebuild this heap of junk. That's shocking. What is the council doing about that? It appears they're just ignoring it. And a lot of people have jumped up and down about it too.
There's a lot of other things going on. Yeah. Aaron.
Yeah, you've kind of answered the question. I've looked at the map, so I know that paddock you're talking about's got that nice wee creek through it. So that's privately owned, that's not council owned.
That's right.
So how did it come about that it might be a reserve?
Well, I understand that a large chunk of our rates are being contributed to it. Now the government's been asked for money as well.
Oh, no, I mean the paddock behind your house, not the
you're
cathedral.
talking about the paddock here.
Yeah, hopefully there's no rats in the cathedral. But 2 pigeons
Probably
there was. Oh.
Anyway, well, it should have been mowed. It used to be mowed regularly,
Yeah.
every few months. When they had
it's
lawnmower
private.
doing the mowing outside on the roadway, up and down the footpath, down to the Brookhaven rest home, they used to regularly mow it. But all of a sudden just left it for a long time.
Right.
And that's what's caused the rats.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And if you're all good, you've used your time up. Sorry.
Have I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I was going to rant and rave about why they built the stadium where it is, and also the other place with the big pool and everything down in Morehouse Ave. Well, I can't believe they built there. It
should have been Lancaster Park, eh, Yanni? Okay.
Apart from that, everything else is great, eh?
Yeah.
I could go along with that.
No, we've got more people.
No,
So
you don't need to. We've
thank
got
you.
Yanni.
Thank you for making the time to come in, though. It's very much appreciated.
Okay.
Good on you. Thanks, mate.
Right.
Yeah, well, the day is but a pup. Okay, online we have Renan. Renan, is it? There we go. Good, yeah. Good. Thank you very much.
Can you hear us?
Absolutely. Come on, guys. Wait. Far away.
Kia ora. Yeah, well, thank you guys for meeting with us and letting us speak to you today. This is about the support for the youth and multicultural center for Akaroa in the base. So I'm a resident of Akaroa, and I'm here with my wife and my wife's cousin. We're here to support this multicultural and youth initiative for Akaroa. Basically, a group of us came together and met a couple of times now with the community board in Akaroa and the community board member Azif Hussein to talk about developing first a community board, a community center that could welcome young people in the community and different groups as well, not just youth, but also groups that are evolving around us and that need a space to meet and connect and organize community events, like fundraising, for instance. And also talk about youth mental health issues that we have in our community. There's been a few tragedies, and we all realize that apart from school or private businesses, there's nowhere to actually meet. There's nowhere for young people to go gather, be safe in a safe environment, away from home, away from school, or away from the pub. And we thought, where can we do that in Akaroa? There's the Gaiety, but it's pricey. And there's private businesses or churches. So if you don't go to church, this is not an option for you. So we thought the pavilion on the recreation ground, which is an idea that as if SN came up with, because it is a community-owned asset, could be a really good start. Obviously, we would love to improve that place because at the moment, the kitchen is not really suitable, commercially speaking, to organize share kais, like for fundraising, for instance. We went to a few share kai in Quad Church a few years ago, last year actually. And we thought we could do that here in Akaroa to help our community, to help other people, other ethnicities in the world, but there's nowhere to do that. So the pavilion will be on a recreation ground in Akaroa, will be perfect for that. It will need a bit of improvement, like a commercial kitchen, proper toilets, showers, a bit more space as well. The idea was to maybe extend the building for a start and extend it so we would have more rooms, so people can sit and gather and organize different events and have outdoor tables as well, a community garden, exercise areas, sports, etc. So the idea is not for one group to run a specific activity. It's more for the community to use it to run their each other events. So basically a community hub that can support youth help and also different groups. And we thought the pavilion on the rec ground is perfect for that. So we just need improvement. We just need to see first with the council what they need from us before we move ahead and create an incorporated society. We want to speak to you guys and see what you need from us, what you can let us do. Heartland in Akaroa is very supportive of this idea as well. So we could work with them under their umbrella. And we just want to basically go in there and organize it, even fundraise if we can, or if we have to make necessary improvements, and create a space, again, that is usable by everyone. So it will be good for the council because it's an underused asset of the community that we would offer to kind of take over with the council and make it work and use what's usable and use what's there. So there's no building of a new complex or anything like that yet. We are not asking for hot pools yet. Maybe that would be later. But for now, yeah, that would be good to use what we already have and make it better so everyone can benefit from it and young people can go and gather and meet and be safe, basically. So that's so yeah, that's the idea. We strongly support this this idea, this approach, and would love to hear from you very soon on how we can start with this process, have the key and go with it, go 100% with it. So I've got Joey and everyone, my wife and my wife's cousin here as well, that have ideas and that are extremely involved with the community, and especially the youth, so they can tell you a little bit more about what they do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you. Tyrone, the local councillor, has got a question.
Yes, kia ora. Look, thanks for this submission. And look, as far as I'm aware, the community board has been pretty supportive of, you know, what you're trying to achieve. I think that's right, isn't it? You've been to see the board, and so are you working with a council staff member, like a community development advisor, on trying to develop the pavilion site for those purposes?
So we have met with the community board, as you know, and then we've met a few times with Azif Hussain, which is on the board. We've met with Steffi.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking of. Yep.
Yeah.
So she's
And
your,
Inget,
and who else, sorry?
Angus.
Right.
Property development.
Yeah.
yep.
So we met with Steffi once. We already exposed everything and our ideas, and she took notes. And it's basically where it's at the
Okay.
moment.
I think you're on the right path. Steffi's the right person.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm personally supportive, and I know that the rest of the board are. So it's just about working through down that pathway, really. But yeah, no, it's important
Exactly.
to. I mean, it's a great idea, and I mean, it really has got value. So appreciate it.
Okay. Tim?
Yeah, great. Good to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, you mentioned the Garty Hall, and you're saying that's unusable. It's kind of like, because the council, we've put money into it, and I don't understand why that's not being used.
So it's not, no, I'm not saying it's not usable. It's just, it's not cheap for a start. I mean, it's something you have to book. The idea is we need a space that is free and open for everyone to use whenever someone needs to use it. So I'm talking mental health here. If somebody has a problem, it can go to a community run space that is open and inclusive. The Gaiety is a beautiful building and it's great, and we have used it, but you have to book it in advance. You have to have a special event booked. So it's a different thing. Does that make sense?
Okay, so it's more a community centre rather than a building like the pavilion where it's, so yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. You're going down the right track. Just keep the pressure on, and certainly keep the pressure on the councillor from over there, because he's pretty bloody hopeless, really. So, but thank you for your submission, and I applaud you for what you're trying to do. So hopefully we can get something happening.
Hopefully, yeah. Thank you very much.
Good on you. Cheerio. Right. Okay. What do we got now, Sam? Oh, okay. Yes. Were they? Hello. Sorry. I cut you off, and you were going to say something because you have got more time.
Yeah, there's my cousin and I have booked some time as well. And
we're on the same video chat, but I'm booked after Renan.
All right, far away.
I believe.
Well, we're just here to show the support for the idea of the community centre, and it's just everything that Renan is saying, and I think we just wanted to extend that to show that we are already on the ground running with that, and using the pavilion for next school holidays as well. And we've got lots of ideas, and we're already in the position to voluntarily do that. And just again, just to add to the wish list of what we want as well. So you guys are aware of what we want, what we can do, and what we're already doing with the space as well. So just, yeah, we are using it. We are planning on using it more. We have used it, and we're planning on using the sports pavilion more for next school holidays, with lots of things we want to organise for the community there. Just to, I think, reiterate that the space is just quite small at the moment, for which we have at Akaroa Community Dance Club needs a dance room. We're hiring spaces at the moment. This is a community run thing. It's $5 per student each class, and the teacher, which is myself, is not paying. I'm not paying myself. I'm doing it voluntarily. So we're collecting that income. So that income, we can make an income easy enough to help with the creation of a space. And really, yeah, I need a dance studio, because I'm just got so many kids coming in and joining the dance, and adults as well. And I don't really have a space, and hiring one, it's costly. But yeah, that's what I would love to put into the wish list for the sports pavilion, if we could have renovations done. So I just put that idea on you guys, but don't worry, we will, step up and work with the people that we need to work with to make that happen. Yeah, just a larger space in general, a community kitchen, yeah, and a youth space centre. We'll be willing to open the space up at certain days of the week, probably on a Friday, open the space up, let the youth come and use it. So we have a few games already, gaming equipment that we could use already. We need a bit of tech in there, and adults would just voluntarily supervise, which would be myself and my cousin and whoever else would be willing to be involved with that. So it wouldn't cost that much. We can fundraise and we can generate an income through certain classes, but there's a lot of people willing to volunteer their time towards running a space for the youth, without, getting too involved with youth, but being there to supervise, obviously, and letting them have ownership over that space as well, and making them feel comfortable to do so. So yeah, that's why I just wanted to jump in to show that there was support. There are people on the ground running, and we are already, in doing this. We just need improvements to the space.
Okay.
So I'll just pass you to my cousin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello, cousin.
Hi, I'm Abe. Nice to meet you guys. Yeah. Yeah, so I just, because this is for like the long-term plan, right? To get it put into the long-term plan. I'm hoping that we could eventually have like a community hub in the town. But yeah, I'm really in support of using the pavilion as a community hub, because yeah, we have no community hub here, and it's the most underutilized building in all of the whole area. But one thing that we'd really love to have is to make it more accessible to the community, and to have that accessible right now. So if, for instance, if people are running like free workshops for the community, could their time be included as the payment for it? So make it free for us to use, but our time and organisation is the fee that is going, so the Christchurch City Council can waive the fee. For instance, there's a lot of different community groups here that would love to run certain classes. So we do a big Sea Week production every year, and we need a little bit of a practice area to practice songs and music. And we also have like some little film projects, drama classes, arts, crafts, Dungeons and Dragons, storytelling, and of course conservation class, which we were using it for a time for conservation class, which was really cool. And we'd just love to be able to have a key, in potentially Heartlands, which is a local community organisation. Maybe they could hold the key for us and determine who can use it for free or not. I don't know if that's something the City Council can do. So we have the key available for the community to be able to go and talk face to face with someone and say, there's the key. Because the problem now is it's at the library, the key, and the library's open for a short time, and it's kind of hard, to go and, get it at the right time, especially on weekends and things. So just to make it way more accessible for the community to actually use, and to see if, we can actually lower the fee of the building if people are doing free classes, or to make it free. I mean, that would just be amazing. The main thing here is because we're getting more and more young people in our community suffering from feeling really isolated and depressed. And these guys are just doom scrolling on their phones. And something that we really want to do is create these little mini pop-up events using the pavilion, and just creating a little social space for people. And it will be run by really trusted members of the community. And maybe Heartlands as an umbrella organisation can be the ones that kind of can determine who these people are. And, it's kind of, a trust type of exercise, really. If you guys trust us.
Thank you very much. I'm startled at your enthusiasm, so never lose that. That's good. So we've written down what you've suggested and talking about, and I'm sure Tyrone will come up with something.
It's a very underutilised space, Your Worship.
Is it not used very often?
Not very often.
No, it's not.
And it's ideal, really. Yeah.
And
you can see
kids
that
can play on the
they've got
grass
a lot of
and
energy,
yeah.
so,
No. Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.
Right. Steph, please. Hello, welcome.
Kia ora koutou. My name is Vicky Blythe and I'm chair of Word Christchurch. And as you know, with me is Steph, who is the executive director of the organisation. Firstly, the trustees would like to take the opportunity to thank council and council staff for your support of Word and the wider arts creativity in Ngā Toi Māori sector in the city. We're very proud that Word is one of the first organisations to receive the council's city identity funding, which is created to support iconic city events, and also to receive Strengthening Communities funding as an organisation with a almost 30-year track record of delivering excellent mahi with very limited resources. I'd now like to hand over to Steph, who will speak to our submission. Thank you.
Kia ora everyone, thanks Vicky. I'm going to claim that I'm also 30 years old next year, much like Word will be. So let's go for it. Since 1997, Word has been around. We're originally called Books and Beyond, which is a name that still really defines us quite well, actually. While reading and writing are our heart, we've evolved into a world-class, award-winning festival of stories and ideas that span books, podcasts, music, contemporary performance of all sorts. We even have some sports in there. So you can kind of think of us as a festival of ideas for Ototahi. We're not just a literary event, we're part of the city's creative and cultural identity. Since 2020, we've successfully transitioned from a biennial to an annual festival model. That wasn't just a random change in schedule, I guess. It was a response to the city that needed continuity and connection. Our 2023 to 2025 data shows a fiercely loyal audience, as well as a steady, roughly around 30% of newcomers to the festival every year. But we're not just a one-week festival in spring anymore. We run events all year round that bring international talent to Christchurch, meaning we don't have to travel to Auckland or even Australia to hear from world-class writers, thinkers and speakers, which ensures we've got lively cultural stuff happening in the city year round. We do have 4 events coming up in the next month, so check it out. Let me know if you want to come. We've been working hard behind the scenes to make sure that we're a good investment for the city. In the last 2 years, we've refined our team to a very lean 2.2 full-time equivalent staff. We've moved to that year-round event model to spread our risk throughout the year. We've partnered with national and international festivals and organisations to share costs and resources. And we've undertaken a comprehensive review of our audiences so that we can more effectively broaden our programming, but also meet the needs of the diverse communities we all know we've got here in Ototahi. So, as Vicky said, we're thankful for your support. I forgot, I put some, here's last year, looked pretty good. And here's some pictures as well, so you don't just have to listen to me. As Vicky said, we're really thankful to the council for your support, which is more than just monetary. The council staff, I have to say, are exemplary at connecting, enabling and working together with us to solutioneer. It's my new word instead of problem solving. Our partnership with Tūranga is the envy of festivals nationwide, as is the building itself. I was recently up in Tauranga and noted that their new library looks very similar. So thank you, basically. This image right here is from a project we did with the climate adaptation team, where we did an open call out for climate fiction, basically. What will 2125 look like? And they were up around the city all summer. Bit too small to read, but you get the gist. So we're really pleased to see in the annual plan negligible increases in fees and charges recommended, as continuing affordability is key for varying communities to utilise our city's infrastructure. We've got lots of new city-owned venues coming online, and it's local groups that will be the beating heart, the continuing pulse of these spaces. Without accessible higher rates, we risk creating white elephants rather than vibrant hubs for the city. Tūranga is the gold standard here. Its success is built on the fact that people can actually afford to use it, and you see that constant use of those spaces every day. So let's ensure our new and current infrastructure remains an asset for many, not just a luxury for the few. We aren't fans in the reduction of community funding. Like many in our creative and community sectors, Word operates on a very lean model. We and our colleagues in these sectors, we're already experts at stretching every dollar. So to us, we have no fat to trim. There's a lot of goodwill of volunteers, staff, and local organisations offering in-kind support. And, you know, Word as an example, we've worked with 16 different organisations as programming partners, many of whom are in our same sector. So I'm fully aware of the need to go through budgets line by line for savings, because I do this myself at Word very regularly, but a 0.04% reduction in rates really isn't worth the impact a cut in community funding would make. You know, you look around at the moment, there's a lot of crap happening in the world, and people are in crisis, and if our community groups are in crisis, who are they going to turn to? Also, if you wanted to do this work yourself, I would imagine it will cost you far more to replicate from the top down than the ground up. So keep that in mind too. Finally, the heritage buildings. We've made a conscious decision at Word post-earthquake to utilise a range of spaces around the city so that we can showcase the dynamism of our city rather than sort of sequestering our audience away in one big venue as we see in other cities. And as Steve Braunia said on newsroom.com.co.nz about a recent festival, the downtown precinct was buzzing, to quote a Word volunteer who reported lots more people than usual on the streets, hoofing along to festival venues, the Piano, Christchurch Art Gallery and Tūranga, the public library. Word was sponsors' money well spent. A good festival is popular. A great festival is popular and meaningful, something that makes a valuable contribution to the culture and the times. Word was a great festival. So I believe across our 29 years, Word has utilised all 4 heritage buildings up for restoration investment, and we'd use all 4 of them again if they're available to us. They are all storehouses of stories themselves. If their walls could speak, I think they'd all have us riveted, and we'd use those stories as well as new ones coming along to instill in these buildings. You've already heard from several clever people about amazing economic ideas as to how you could make this work. I'm not here to give you any of those, but just know that Word would help bring these buildings to life like we do with so many others. So in conclusion, if you think of the city's buildings as hardware, you can think of Word and our sector colleagues as the software that brings it to life. Imagine how boring your phone would be without all those apps you can play on. My arts festival colleague during the earthquakey times, Philip Tremewan, called it infrastructure of the heart. You might want to think of it as a key activity to drive the long-term plan priority to make our city a cultural powerhouse. So we're thankful for your continued support. That's basically the gist of it. Thank you. Hope you keep it coming to us and the rest of the sector so that we can see our city continue to thrive and be what the Mayor calls the coolest city in the country, which damn straight it is. Kia ora.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the both of you for coming in, and thank you for what you do. So, yeah, it's good. Oh, we have a bit of time. Aaron.
Yeah, so I have some concerns myself over the written word and words and reading in general. And obviously your organisation plays well into addressing that, but how do you go beyond breaking the barriers? Like, so the people turning up already into books, already into the written word, how do we grab or expand the people that aren't? So many kids are on devices, they're not reading, they're just, and a lot of adults can't spell properly anymore, their spelling's not good much, lots. So
we do need to get better.
They're texting and they use another language which is not actually real, so on and so forth. How do you potentially address that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things we're doing already actually in that youth space, and also for parents as well, because it's not just youth are the ones that aren't reading, right? I'm sure there's a few of you who haven't picked up a book in a while, and that's fine. So we've got this project we've been doing just outside the Band Rotunda every year during the festival called Rangatahi Boogie, where it's for preschoolers. It's about basically children's singer-songwriters coming along and sharing their stuff, as well as reading a book. So our first one, we had Anika Moa who launched her book there and sang to the kids as well. And so that's sort of about trying to get them into, hey, stories are cool, you should listen to them, you should read to them. And we've got a schools program as well that we take finalists of the New Zealand Children and Young Adults Book Awards into select schools and invite the primary and intermediate schools in that neighbourhood to come in and meet. They kind of get a bit of a rock star's welcome, which is great. And they also, in our secondary schools sessions, get to see people who maybe don't look like a typical writer in their eyes or a typical reader. So we had a London gangster a couple of years ago who came in. We're likely to have Dominic Hoey this year, who is dyslexic, covered in tattoos, and is one of our finest fiction writers at the moment. So what we're trying to do with a lot of our programs is go, people like you write, people like you read, and you can get so much out of the stories that people might share.
Thank you.
But we're not trying to shove books down everyone's throats, because we know that a podcast or an audio book is just as good. So how do we encompass that?
Yeah. Thank you very much, and once again for what you do. It's fantastic. Good on
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming. Right.
Thanks for giving up your weekend.
And you.
Yeah.
Dan, I see you down there, mate. G'day, mate.
Afternoon. Have you pressed the green button? There's a green button. Is that for go? Or? Thank you very much. So I'm a little bit late. I've been watching a momentous world event where a particular space vehicle splashed down the Pacific Ocean.
Excellent.
Yes, well, apparently, the last I saw, they were sitting in there waiting for some comms, which sounds like technology. And lots of, American floating assets turning around, trying to recover them. So, yeah, bit of history. Anyway, my name's Dan Van Ash. I'm here this afternoon at the suggestion of two councillors, Andre and Tim, who I met the other day and invited me, or suggested that I come along and make a short submission to the draft plan submissions. I live at 681 Cashmere Road in Hoonhay Valley. I've lived there all my life. It's a family farm that this year had, or celebrated, at least I did, 100 years of my family managing the property. My grandfather came there, obviously, in 1926, and my father bought the place in the 50s, and I've been there since 1986, really. The reason that I've come along to this today is to ask for your consideration of funding for Te Kuru. And I'll get to that kind of at the end of the specific funding that I'm interested in doing. Te Kuru, as you're all aware, is a large piece of city council infrastructure that's been made over the last few years. It happens to be directly over the road from where I live. And it's been a pretty interesting observation from someone like me, watching the farms that were over the road and it turned from, dairy farms and cropping farms into a large wetland. It's also interesting that I understand there's a bit of heritage around the Hoonhay Valley Drain, the Cashmere Stream, and the shapes of the riverbeds, which I understand were all excavated by Crowcroft Wilson's Indians back in the day. I think it's sort of a funny observation from someone like me that they spent all that time and effort draining the land, and now you've spent a lot of time and effort flooding the land, so I suppose that's the wheel turning. Anyway, Te Kuru, as you're well aware, is working. Some would say well, some would say not so well. And or some would say it's a work in progress, and I think that's the position of the staff I've been talking with recently. There's obviously a lot of benefits from Te Kuru, and clearly there are some costs as well. At the moment, the benefits seem to be reasonably well acknowledged after these flood events. Excuse me, and they're particularly useful to people further down the catchment of the Heathcote. There are some costs involved with it, and they've been borne pretty much by my family and my neighbour, Ernst Fry, and that's because of the current management and whatever else is going on with the Kuru, and the way that the highest water levels keep water on our properties for some periods of time. Just by way of background, One of the other things I do is I've got a land development company, and it's been developing Redmond Spur over the last few years. It's also on part of this family farm. And I had a little add up the other day about my Redmond Spur development contributions over the last few years. And from what I could find from the invoices rendered and dutifully paid, there was $771,792 paid by my development company to the council for the Redmond Spur development. And I'm one of just a number of developers in the area who have, obviously with Horsell exploding, spent pretty substantial sums of money. I'm quite amazed that it's actually that amount. It's not so hard when you get 6 invoices, but when I added them all up, I sat there and thought, crikey, that's a fair bit of cash, actually. So I was sort of interested in that, and that's just the cost that I've paid to the council. One of the other things I've been involved with, and Phil will remember, hopefully, when he shook my hand and presented me with the Stormwater Superhero Award in 2023. And that was recognition, I'm sure that you do, Phil.
Every day. I do.
And that was a very interesting award, and I was encouraged to enter that award with Red Spur, my development company, by the people who are involved with the Heskett River Network area. And that was recognition of the work that my company, Red Spur, had done with a number of people, mainly my development contract, my civil engineer, and also a few of the other consultants, environmental consultants, with how we'd managed the stormwater that came off the Redmond Spur development. And we ended up putting water into the Heskett catchment that was cleaner than the water that was coming from the surrounding farmland. And we know that because we measured all sorts of stuff over a number of years. Unfortunately, I'm a bit of a science geek and a bit of a doer, and I found that an absolutely fascinating project to go through for the 5 or 6 years. It was quite painful at the beginning, and it wasn't so much the regulatory framework around it that made me continue to do it. It was because I've been there a long time, I'm interested in things, and I like nature and ecology and whatever. And I found it a particularly fascinating and rewarding project to be involved with. And that, to me, kind of linked into the whole of, or at least parts of what Te Kuru is doing with the biological side of, the engineering. So there's the two bits, the engineering and the biology. I was fascinated with it, which is why, other than it's over the road from my house, I've really, I've got a lot invested in Te Kuru, other than my $771,792. Just thought I'd draw that to your attention again. I was very fortunate recently to meet with 2 of the City Council staff, one being Peter Christensen, the other being Iris Brookland, and they took some time to meet me and some of my neighbours, and then me separately afterwards, to really go over what is happening with Te Kuru. And they've given me these really interesting documents which cover all sorts of bits and pieces of it and link into the operations of it. And really, today's for me is all about this funding of the operations. I've become aware from what they told me that the whole of Te Kuru is a work in progress. It's dealing with nature. That last big storm event was very unpredictable. It had an incredible rain gradient from the top of the Port Hills out to Addington, to the other basins, which is looking at my map here, the Wigram Basins, where there was about 15 or 20% of the rain that was on the hills. I think it challenged everybody in many ways, and the effect of the flood was to cover Cashmere Road for about 4 or 5 days. I've never seen it that deep or for that long. I don't think Henderson's Road was flooded this time, which is also quite atypical from my observation of floods in the area. And it really brought home to me, firstly, that I'm having a wee laugh to myself because I'm having a wee snigger about technology, because one of the motors in the floodgates in Te Kuru didn't work, and Iris was really embarrassed because, as you may well know, she's German, and she said, the motor that failed was a German motor, and normally we make things really well and with good precision, and I'm really embarrassed. Anyway,
Dan, so carry on. This is very interesting. That's good. Have you got much further time's up? But have you got much further to go?
No, I haven't.
No, carry on.
I'm pretty much at the end of it.
Excellent.
The thing about the motor failure was they need to get a new one, and then when all the floodwaters went away, we could really see how much debris had arrived into Te Kuru. It come down the Hoonhay Valley drain. There's various blockages on my place and my neighbours and whatnot. And some of it was because it was such a huge event. Some of it was just because it's what it is. But it really brought home to me that the maintenance of the area is absolutely critical. And what I want you to consider is properly funding that now and in the future, and making sure that every year there's the adequate funding for Te Kuru to work. Mm-hmm. And that means investing time and effort in understanding what's going on. Phil knows all about this. And it's, there's huge sedimentation basins there. There's a lot of stuff that's designed to trap sediment and everything and stop it going anywhere else. That's all good. You need to look after your own thing, because what happened last time was my paddocks got heavily flooded for about a week extra. The guy that leases my farm, his pasture died, his crops died, and that's a real cost to him. My neighbour Ernst, he also had his land flooded. He had degradation of his pasture. We're not against what's going on. We just want to know that what is going on there is properly managed and properly resourced and funded. And that's why I've...
Yeah, no, well done. And I've been out there when Cashmere Roads had water over it.
Yes.
And I've said, oh, why are we not doing this and why are we doing that? And I understand even some of the plants that we've planted are actually getting a bit carried away, and we need to start...
I think you drowned your own plants.
Yeah. So I fully understand exactly what you're saying, so thank you so much for coming up. That's good.
Jolly good. Thanks for having me. I'll go back to the TV and see if those astronauts are all in good health.
Oh, I thought you'd be off to watch Supercars.
Well, that might be later. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Andre, what did you say? Yep. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we've got Carrie, please.
Cheers. Kia ora koutou.
Afternoon,
I've been in here. I haven't been in this room before, but you've probably heard me, some of you, a few times before. And once again, I'm going to say the future is going to be different from the past. So we need a plan for the future, not a plan for the past. Plan for the future is one that that addresses the fact that, well, theoretically, we should be halving emissions by 2030. Now, if we'd started it 30, 40 years ago, would have been great, got serious about it, or even when the council actually decided that we had a climate emergency and we needed to do something about it, we would be further along the path. Because so far, our emissions are not going down anywhere near on track, and it's a survival issue for people all over the world, including people here. It's going faster than what the IPCC was predicting. We're looking at potentially, a couple of metres of sea level rise this century, could even be higher. That we could hit, I think the scientists in this area, including James Hansen, saying we could hit 2 degrees before 2037. You'll find other numbers, but these are leading scientists talking about things. It's not only greenies who are thinking about it. It's US Department of Defence thinks that it's a serious security issue. Actuaries who work out insurance know that it's a serious issue. So I think we need to be not just looking at what's the most likely scenario, but what are the realistic possibilities of what could happen. For the same reasons you buy insurance and you strengthen buildings for earthquakes, even though you don't think there's going to be an earthquake probably next year, you do it anyway because the consequences are catastrophic if we're not prepared. And people, I keep hearing words like unforeseen and temporary about the fuel costs, and these are not unforeseen circumstances. We know that fuel prices are going to go up. We know that there's been conflict in the world. The world order is changing, and there's been conflict in the Middle East that is, this risk has been here. And we know that fuel is going to become more and more expensive to extract, and therefore more and more expensive over time. So even if the fuel costs come down a little, the overall trend is likely to be upward. It's not rocket science, it's ecology and biology, and that's much more complex than rocket science. So, it needs taking seriously. Transport. Right now, people are struggling to pay for petrol. What would help would be if every kid in the city had a safe route to cycle to school so that people didn't have to hop in their cars to feel that they had to hop in their cars to drive their kids to school. I believe it would be possible within a year to get 2 kilometres around every school in the city having a safe route, separated routes for, that you could put your 5-year-old on and not worry that they're going to be hit by a speeding car or an opening car door. You can use plastic bollards, you can take the parking off one side of a street, leave the parking on the other street. Some streets you can block off the end and make it a cul-de-sac that lets cyclists and scooterers through. Some streets you can make one way. There's a bunch of things you could do. And if we were serious about it, we could make, that would be possible to get that chunk close to schools happening really quickly. Obvious thing to do, and this could be done really quickly too, although the central government doesn't like it. Reduce the speeds. Bring it down to 30k in all the urban streets. Leave the big roads at 50 or 60k. Government doesn't like it, but this is an emergency. It's people trying to survive the cost of living, and we've got a climate emergency. And if they're saying no, you have to set things up so that more people will die, the answer to that should be no, or just ignore them and go on with what makes sense to do. I'd like to see the council, now I think you've made some progress in this direction, but I think there's a whole lot more that could be done to make sure that council staff who need to travel around the city have access to, good e-bikes, good, the lightest, most efficient vehicles. Pedelec's good for getting around in the areas that are close in, that don't require long distances. So if that's not already happening, they're cheaper to run, they take a little bit longer to get somewhere, but they don't add to the cost for the council of fuel and for the city of, the emissions, and the world for that matter. Photovoltaics on every council building. We're going to have more storms. We're going to have more fuel issues. When we get a heat wave that's hotter than one we've had before, people will die if we don't have a plan for that. So we should have all our sports stadiums and community centres and so on set up so that they can function well as refuges when we get the kinds of floods, storms, heat waves, fires that have not happened yet. We've been hearing the word unprecedented and record-breaking a lot in the last 10 years in New Zealand and around the world. We can't say we're in Christchurch, it's not going to happen here. Eventually these things will happen here, so let's be prepared for them before they do. You've heard this from me before, I don't know if anyone else is talking about this, but we've got low-lying wastewater system. It's a really, really big challenge to figure out what to do with that, but eventually it will get swamped by sea level rise and storm surges. And the time to fix that is not when it's happened. The time to fix it is, think about how to deal with that long before it's going to happen. It's not going to happen this year. It's not going to happen in 10 years. But I think solving that problem is more than a 10-year problem, and therefore some resources should go into having somebody look at, okay, what are the options for when our wastewater system, which is fundamentally essential for a city to function, sanitation is, if you don't have sanitation, you don't have a functioning city. Water, air, sanitation, food, those things are fundamental. So get someone looking at that.
How are you going, bud?
Oh, I'm running out of time, aren't I?
No, you're not, you've run.
Can I tell you one more?
Okay.
Real quick. Ports and airports should be not supporting destructive behaviour, make sure they're not supporting trawling. Look at what they're doing with fertiliser they're importing and so on. And one of the things we need in the country, and I'm not waiting for this for either the central government or the market to provide this, is a small organisation dedicated to designing and building cycle pedal vehicles, electric pedal vehicles that can replace the functions of cars. So for some people, you know, a regular bicycle does fine, but if you're trying to carry a load and carry a family and travel four together and so on, you need three-wheeled, four-wheeled, different kinds of vehicles to replace what is currently being done by cars. And people say, you can't carry a load with a car, I can't do this with a car, I can't do that. So, you know, if no one else is doing it, consider it as a project for the council to take on something like that.
Thank
Okay,
you.
that's me, thank you.
Thank you very much. And I agree totally with you with the solar panels. We've got them out at Hornby Pool and it's saving us a lot of money.
Great.
And very soon, if it's not right now, I see the crane over there, we're putting them on top of the art gallery.
Great.
So we're going that way.
Speed
So
ahead.
that's good. Sorry, Celeste, I haven't got any time for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good on you. Okay, Dennis, please. Dennis. It's a bit. Oh, it's Greg. I can't see Greg. Oh, sorry. It's Greg. I didn't see you down the back there. I didn't see. You said Greg. Dennis, you're up.
Can I have it 5 minutes as well?
Fire away. No.
The trouble was, Phil, I had one of those lollies on the way in, and it stuck to my plate.
Hate it when that happens.
5 minutes.
Very good to see you, man.
Am I allowed to have some handouts?
Yeah.
Right. So half
Tyler,
down each side. Half down each side. School books are coming through. And one on the other side. I need to stand up.
You're right.
There you go. Make yourself beautiful, young lady. Make yourself beautiful. You can pass those around first. People want to play. I'm going to hold on to one.
Thank you, mate. Good. Right.
Right, everybody stand up. Come on.
No,
All
no,
you
no.
stand up. Hurry up. Come on, all stand up. This is the school teacher coming through, Phil. Take your hands around, get your hands in the air, have a think. Well done, Victoria. Now sit down. I'm told to keep close to the speaker. Okay. When is has my 5 minutes started? No. That'll only leave half a minute for your questions. Okay. Couple of things. Probably false pretense to some extent as to what I originally put in, but however, just my little opening statement at the top there of that page, which is this is all I'm going to say. I strongly agree with, and I would like to increase, this is my opening statement of course, I'd like to increase the amounts in some areas on long-term spending, climate resistance, contestable community grants, environmental partnerships, the capital works program as such, spending on spring waters, in particular, spending on parks. I want to talk about the Papanui bush, one that's never ceased. This is my particular area of interest, and I'd like to think some of my ideas and experiences of working with the community board, the council, community, and various other interest groups, like Braintree, Cancer Society, etc., could be passed on in developing parks and reserves in the future. Sweet spot. And if you want me to talk more about sweet spot, I'll do later if I'm allowed a couple more minutes. However, firstly, one, I want to develop a Papanui Bush Trust where money raised can go back into bush development. I did have a supporting document, but I decided not to bring it because I'm a wee bit concerned that by people reading it, they will then have a vested interest and they won't be allowed to discuss it. Sad, but anyway. So, I have produced a document through my committee board for the council to see on what we need to do to set up a trust, community trust, to actually run and raise money for the development of the bush. So it doesn't cost ratepayers anything. Two, I want to see the basin as a historical park status. I've got a supporting booklet that I've passed around, you can read that in your own time, about the history of the Papanui bush, which once was bigger than Brickland bush, and was cut down in 2.5 years, with the Kākatea and the Tautra went into build Christchurch. And you'll also see in there the relationship with the tangata whenua, who actually stopped off there to gather their kai on the way from moving from Kaiapua through to Aotearoa, through Christchurch. So it can be really, has got a lot of cultural significance, and I would really like to see the whole area given historical park status. Little things. I want to convince the council to take over the last small part of the basin. There's a small part of the basin that is not part of the reserve. By the way, the council did buy the area for $1. They reluctantly didn't want it. They bought on Bridgestone for $1. Why? Because they didn't want to look after it. But don't worry, there are people like me around looking after it anyway. So, I want to also briefly talk about the planned removal of the macrocarpa trees. I'm not sure if I've got macrocarpa correct, but trees that also enhance the drain, and also I want to enhance the drain between the school and the reserve, right? I just don't want a big ditch there. So, when the macrocarpas go, then I want the drain enhanced. I want to ensure continued community and council liaison with Drainage Board, the people who come in and mow, the mulch release I get there, and in particular all the park rangers who I've worked with over the years, and especially my latest one, Lizzie Tanner, who has been a fantastic help to me. And I want to continue with the supply, and they have, park rangers, continued the supply of native plants, and also the planting and the care, release, and their valuable advice, and coordinated planning, and also community planting days. We have community planting days. Every second Tuesday of the month, I have a group of people come in who help me release. That's weeding. You can plant a tree, but you've got to look after it. And help me. Also, I intend on Arbor Day, usually around about Arbor Days, I have a community planting program in operation where I work through my community board. We have the usual sausages, all those sort of things, and we have people come in to plant. And Victoria will know that. And a lot of people, some people here have been there. Yeah, quite a few you've been there. You know what it's all about. Be careful though, I don't want you to get too much of a vested interest. Anyway, so to continue. So that section 5, there's a lot in that. Other things, for example, I have on one of the concrete walls there put up the largest kiruru in the world in the bush. It flies up, it's over 10 metres high, and it's been done by an artist, and I have got some copies of that if people want to see that, to embellish the walls, Murray Smith's walls, Mitre 10 walls, and I eventually want to put up Bellbird. I've got the Kiruru. I want to put up Piwakawaka. I want to put up Tui, and round the corner, eventually want to put up Matariki, massive big Matariki right on that wall. It'll be just fantastic, really good. So,
how's progress going, young fella?
Yeah, well, just wait for a minute, sir. I'll just finish the last thing, and then you can ask as many questions you like. Okay.
About that.
Right. So, I want to develop Jacob, who did the Kiruru, as an artist in residence for Papanui. I want to get him a little site where he can work from, and the whole idea from him is to actually help young people who put graffiti everywhere and teach them how to do real stuff. Murals in the area, in the Papanui area, and there are a lot of youth wandering around that he can help. Finally, the last area, which I had 120 odd, for example, kids from St Joseph's there the other day. No photographs taken, of course. Not allowed to take photographs anymore. To come in and develop the area. I want to develop the area, and it has been a place of learning for the many current schools who actually do already come and visit the area. And finally, in conclusion, to ensure my restoring a small part of our cultural heritage to the rapidly developing suburb of Papanui that may last for many generations in the future. Is that 5 minutes?
At least.
Bill, what's your question?
No, thank you, Dennis. What you're doing, and I ask any of the councillors to go down and see what you're doing. What
You've
got.
been down there.
Yeah, but put what you're doing. You put under your wing the enthusiasm. You've got the paths you do and stuff like that. You need to be commended for what you're doing. So, councillors, get down there and have a look because it's.
Oh, thanks, Bill. I can hardly hear you though. It's sort of mumbling, but that's all right.
Yeah.
The thing is, you've been there, and I know for a fact that you came in with Victoria after work one night in your good shoes, and you wandered around. And I used to work with a guy by the name of Harry Rollins. Harry was great. He looked after the park, and I'd talk to Harry, and Harry would say, right, yeah, okay, you want this or that, or whatever. Yes, let's talk about it. Oh, we'll get recreational services in, and recreational services in my Rotary, and suddenly we had the first pathway out, which you lifted the gate. Okay. And then, of course, there was a second path, which continued around.
Dennis, I really must stop you there because we're so far out of time.
Any more questions?
Yeah, no, that was all the questions we had.
No?
Yeah.
Well, you don't even know what a sweet spot is, do you? I thought people would ask me what that was.
Mate, we've got to get going because there's people behind you. But thanks so much for coming in.
Okay.
And keep up the good work.
Thanks, guys.
Good on you, man. Okay, John, please.
Oops.
Hi, Dennis. Mr. Mayor, councillors, staff, very well, thank you. Thanks for working on a Saturday to give us all the opportunity to speak. I shouldn't take long because I'm going to zoom in on one issue and one issue only. My name is John Miller. Some of you will know me, Community Board Member, Papanui, Innis Central, and I'm a resident of the inner city east area of Christchurch. So I know this particular zone area. My submission focuses on the land disposal list, specifically on a small site, 367 Hereford Street, which sits on that block of Hereford Street that extends from Fitzgerald Ave to Stanmore Road. Now, to set context, I support the general program of land rationalisation. There are many cases where the money is better to have than the land when that land has no use or prospective use. But this site sits in an area that's intensifying perhaps more than most. It's medium MDZ with high density at each end of the block. It's an area with very limited green space and noticeably a growing number of young families. Listening to Carrie's vision before about that 2 kilometre circuit around school, it reminds me that we're already seeing a lot of children in the area, a new trend, using nearby footpaths and shared driveways for play and bike riding, that sort of thing. And that suggests a unmet local need. A kids' bike practice concept has already been proposed by the neighbourhood for this site and considered by staff. It was set aside due to SIPTED concerns around the site's narrow form and perceived entrapment risk. It's only 8 metres wide. Now, I get that, I understand that, but it does point to a broader question. That is whether disposal of this land is the only option or whether there are other options that can be explored, low-cost uses that could still work on this site and benefit the city and that area. So, for example, a refined or mitigated version of that children's space, or a small native planting known as a microforest approach, which carries very low SIPTED risk, and it serves the city's urban forest and bird path goals. Now, given the site's shape and surrounding ownership, the likely sales return is probably modest. It's very narrow. The same reason of the entrapment issue is it's very narrow. As a standalone site, it would be hard to do anything with. It would perhaps be of value to the owners of neighbouring properties, but there are 4 titles on one side, 8 on the other. I think it would take a long time to collect and aggregate those sites. So small site, possibly low potential yield, and an outsized local benefit if held. So the recommendation I have is to simply defer the disposal. I'm not writing it off altogether, I'm being realistic, but ask staff to make a fresh look at feasible uses rather than closing the door at this stage. So I think this is a low-risk decision that keeps options open in a rapidly changing neighbourhood. And I'm done.
Sorry, not that I'm not listening. I'm looking at the piece of dirt and it's scratching my head, wondering. Tyler Pauline.
Kia ora, John.
Kia ora.
As someone who's been lucky enough to build a pocket park myself, I'm just wondering, have you explored with the community around the potential of those options that you were talking about? Or the board?
Yeah, yes, with both. The children's park idea was brought to me by a member of the community who's been championing it. She may have even come here in earlier days to see you about it. Yeah. I know she submitted on it. And we talked with the board and did take it to staff. Staff looked at it, but it was the entrapment risk that...
Again, this issue, eh? Okay. All right, thank you.
Great idea, John. Just in terms of the immediately surrounding houses, are they? Do you know whether they're rentals or owned, and what their kind of general attitude might be? You know, like say for 371, the people across the driveway. You know,
sure.
How were they positive, or do you have any?
Yeah, one of the neighbours has been sort of stewarding it by gathering rubbish. It's kind of become used as a car park and rubbish dumping site in the in nature of pools of vacuum sort of a thing, and I think that the nature of the properties next door is sort of single level, circa 1962 flats, and I believe they're owned separately. They are definitely separately titled, and I believe separately owned and almost universally rented.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks.
Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. The local councillor, he's pretty hopeless. He wouldn't have told us about this. Here. Oh, hello, Jake. Hello, Daryl. Good to see you, man. Good to see you again, man.
Kia ora koutou. My submission responds to the Restoring Our Iconic Buildings section of the consultation document. I focus on ideas to shape options for the long-term plan. I try and convince you to explore more ideas than restoring these 4 sites as you come to create the options for the long-term plan. Based on submissions I see you're already thinking ahead. I see you're considering the rate of return on possible grants and whether a nominal 5% in year 1 is a reasonable rate of return given the council's cost of borrowing and presuming the risk profile of the venture. I see that there's discussion around the public goods in council funding competition against private businesses in mature markets with already thin margins. I see the question about does taking money from the provincial chambers have a zero rates impact, or must you forego works in that area or rate for that in the future? And also, of course, whether a loan or a part loan is an option. The museum's submission supports my logic about how to contextualise the options you present in the LTP. They put their bid in the context of other major projects in the city, including the anchor projects. So they didn't limit themselves to the heritage ideas. And I followed the same logic in my submission. I think the trade-offs and opportunities are not limited to the 4 sites, but include other major icons, Botanic Gardens, and other major works. And of course, for the purist, no works is also available for you. Now, in my view, even if you do decide to limit options to major heritage institutions, then you should show the public why you have considered and rejected operations like, for example, Maclean's Mansion or the Ferrymead Heritage Park. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Daryl. Any questions, Daryl? Timothy and Sam.
The odd one here for me is the Arts Centre with regards to the old Student Union building. There was a proposal to them from the original person who really created the Dux Deluxe, as it has been known. Whatever the future is it's not what it was. It's what it will be for those of the age group that we were when we were there. They had an option of having it funded alternatively rather than coming to the council. I was just wondering your thoughts on that.
I think if you progress those discussions for the next long-term plan, that's a great idea. I mean, you've had recent experience of using commercial activities to sustain heritage buildings, and I think that's a model that is promising.
Sam?
Daryl, I was just going to say, very good submission. I always enjoy them from you. So my question was around the Dux as well, but effectively what you're saying is that if we were to progress anything around the Arts Centre, good practice or just, good governance effectively would be to actually consider all options as opposed to just taking what has been presented, which is a round figure of $10 million.
Yes, and I mean, if you look at the, I think it's section 14 of the LGA, I know it's not a commercial decision by this council, it'll be framed as a grant, but from the competition, it will be seen as a commercial venture. And I know technically that's fine, but you don't want to hang a lot on that word technical. You need to consider, well, how does the rest of the hospitality industry see this proposal and consider their views? Yeah. I'm not actually coming on any way in particular. I'm just saying that when you come to a reasonably sophisticated presentation of the long-term plan, those issues are worth addressing.
Yeah. Okay. Do you see any movement if we were to, because I guess the proposition they've put forward, without being too specific, is that this is something that can get done within sort of 2 years. But do you think that if we could get a commercial proposition lined up, and we get confidence that they've run a good EOI process with the sort of options that Tim's talked about and their option they've put up now, that we could move on that quicker if there's a lower effective grant or no grant from council? Like, do we need to wait for the LTP if it gets something moving, if there are other ways of doing it, not just what they've presented, I guess?
If you're able to move prior to the LTP, that suggests there's no legal hurdles to taking that action, and suggests that you don't need LTP approval. Yeah. And if you get to that point, that sounds like you've come to a very good outcome.
Yeah, great, thank you. Come in any time.
Tyler, please.
I'm getting stuck into the weeds here, but there was a note about Parikuri in your submission. Are staff taking that offline by chance? There's just a couple of notes talking about small improvements. Or do I have to put it through the Q&A?
No, they're in the officer's responses, I think.
Great, okay, sweet. Just don't want it to get lost, thanks.
Sorry to include that weed, I just noticed it. I thought it was
always good to see you in the gym, Daryl. It's good.
Yeah, good work, get stuck into it. Thanks, good to see you, Daryl.
Kia ora.
Thank you. Scott, please.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Good to see you're all still here and awake and working. It's on a Saturday, and I can only but thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. I'm the principal of the Cathedral Grammar School. I'm representing our board, students, staff, and community. There was 2 submissions that came in, one from the board and one from the school. And I'm really here just to provide a little bit of context to that. But I'm also speaking as a really proud Christchurch born and bred lad. I've spent most of my 54 years living in Sumner, Redcliffe's Mount Pleasant, currently in Fendleton, went to Redcliffe's Kindy, Redcliffe School, Linwood High, graduated at Christchurch College of Education. The patch is firmly over one of my eyes. But I'm really passionate about the city, and I only know what it must be like for you because I know in a school setting with the needs, wants and aspirations of a school community, and then amplify that by 1 million, and that's what you're trying to juggle at the moment. And so genuinely, thank you very much for what you do for the city. It's in such an amazing spot. I've been a principal for 30 years through the earthquakes at Mount Pleasant, the mosque shootings at Grammar. We've had quite a good little partnership. We had the protesters in Cramner Square where we worked really well together there. We've obviously got our bylaw for Chester Street through the middle of our school. You use our facilities for some of the events over the road, and we partner strongly with you with events like Electric Avenue, keeping our primary school completely open and functioning whilst that Friday event is starting at 2 o'clock and everything's all happening around it. But I'm really passionate that we support what needs to be done for the city and to bring in growth. And that's at the heart of our proposition, is that we feel that, obviously, being the grammar school of the cathedral, we're going to have a view, aren't we, that it is the heart and soul, we believe, of the city. And for the rebuild and the growth, I would just hate for the rest of the world to think that we're forever unfinished, because there are a few icon buildings that just aren't quite done. And so we fully support you considering putting funding in towards those 4 iconic buildings, so that in amongst the turangas and the tapais and the parakuares and te kaha and all of the other amazing things that we now have for my children and all the children to grow through, that they can see that we honour tradition as we embrace the future. So that is our theme. That's been the theme at our school, that we show the children at our school that some things are worth fighting for. And in this TikTok, fast, Snapchat, quick, instant world, that it's really important to know your tūranga waiwai, to know your roots, to know where we've come from. And it's really critically important that they see these features which are here, they're right on our doorstep, and that we keep this, because we are people that will show the people who have been before us here today and tomorrow that we do honour tradition as we embrace future. You guys have embraced future ridiculously. It is just fantastic. The whole country is looking at Christchurch, aren't they? It's so exciting to be a part of it. I've got a ticket to every possible event at Te Kaha so far, so I'm fully locked in. Look, and I know that, obviously we're connected to the cathedral, as are you. This Christchurch was set up as a Church of England settlement. It was given a bishop's see in 1856, which allowed Queen Victoria to give Christchurch its name and for it to be actually a city rather than a town. Your coat of arms has a bishop's mitre on it. Part of your motto is founded in faith. Your logo, the centrepiece of your logo, is the cathedral. So we know that we've got this connection piece here. Obviously, I kind of link it to Apollo Projects and the Crusaders, and I was there for the last game. And I've taken my 21-year-old and all my kids all through there. And, it was a feat to be able to put that up and to have that for our city and to provide that. And it was wonderful and amazing. But it was never a long-term solution. It was never the showcase piece for our sport and our entertainment within the city. And now Te Kaha's right here. And to me, it's very similar with the cardboard cathedral. It's shipping containers and cardboard and some structure. And that was put up because it was really important. It was critical for us, for our city. Whether you're a faith-based person or not, it was still replicating what is the essence of the city. And I see that as it has also come to its shelf life, and we need to be able to get back into that cathedral. We are one of 2 schools in the Southern Hemisphere that is a choir school that is directly linked to a cathedral. There are 2 in the Southern Hemisphere, and the one down the road is one of them. It's really unique. It's really special in our eyes, whether you're a faith-based person or not, but being able to have something linked back to our ancestors and our connections to England, and to be able to have that uniqueness. But we really need those boys, and now those girls. 5 years ago, we introduced girl choristers, heaven forbid, which is amazing. But they need to be singing in a cathedral. They need to have that acoustic. They need to be able to know what it was when I was a little boy and my grandma took me in there every Christmas under the Christmas tree and all through the year. They need to know that. And so I've been at that school for nearly 10 years, and I wondered if it would be under my shelf life that I would get to see our choristers singing and to hear them singing. And I have heard that recently. Last year they were able to go in, minimum numbers, hard hats, we went in and they were able to sing in that space. And it just puts hairs up on the back of your neck. And to us, it's just a centrepiece of the city. It's the heart and soul of Christchurch. I was listening to George FM this morning that was advertising something, and it was advertising for it to be in Cathedral Square. People know it. It was our hub. And I just think it's critical that we show our children that we have history. Yes, we've got all these wonderful new things, but we have a past, and we honour that, and we invest in that, and we do that for them and those that have been before and for the future. Clearly as the grammar school, the cathedral, we've got our view, but I think it's way beyond that. I think to get this city even more finished off and thriving, we need that square to be what it was when I was a little boy. It was busy, it was bustling, it was thriving, it was a great place to be. And it's not, and it hasn't been since the earthquakes, and it never will be with those hoardings and a dilapidated building sitting there. I think the reopening plan is a great way to stage that and get it up and going, and I believe you can help get that over the line, and we would be very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. That was very good. Any questions for Scott, who was sort of...
Don't ask me to sing.
Yeah.
Hey, going back to February, when the earthquake happened, how close was the choir to being in the building?
I was at Mount Pleasant School at the time. I arrived there in 2016. I couldn't give you an accurate answer to that, I'm sorry.
Because how many days a week were they in there back when it was open?
Well, so now they're in there 5 days a week. So it would be similar because they do evensong. So there's the set evensong services during the week, plus they also do morning and evening on a Sunday. So the boys are doing about 18 hours of rehearsing and singing on top of school every week.
Yeah, yeah, it's unreal, eh? So, and I know some very successful singers that went through that school.
Yes.
So then, how many days a week were tourists going into the cathedral or visitors to the city and seeing that choir performing in that space?
Substantial, I would imagine, because a lot of people would know that would be coming into there would also know about the evensong services that are sung every day at 5:30 every day throughout the week. So they would know that those are there and they would be able to come in and see that and be a part of that. And then there's obviously all of the, like we've just had Holy Week at school, so we have a service every day as we go through there. So the choristers are obviously a key part of that. So there are a large number of services that are put through into there right throughout the year.
So 5:30 every day, public could walk into that building and hear that choir perform.
Yeah,
free.
and it's them with, and yes, free, and it's them with the men as well. So there's the men. So some of our boys have gone through up into the back row, and then and as well we now have the girls as well. So the girls are doing some days. So the boys' load has got a little bit lighter, which was a good thing I think, and the girls have stepped into that space.
Great.
The girls are sounding amazing as well.
Awesome.
Thanks, Aaron. And Vic, please.
Thank you, Scott. That's a really personal and impactful submission today.
Thank you.
You just got me thinking then about the reopening plans. And is there, I haven't quite got the right word, but an allowance for the choristers to be singing and performing in the staged approach?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
And what does that look like then?
That's above my pay grade, how that looks like and how they're going to factor that in. But I know that Dean Ben is on our board as well, and Bishop Peter's the warden of our school. So I know that is one of the fundamental things they are wanting to do, is to get the choristers back in there ASAP. And as I say, they've been singing in there as it is now. So no, it's very much at the forefront of them wanting to get back into that space with people to be able to hear them.
Oh, it's magical. I'm looking forward to it already. Thanks, Scott.
I just hope I'm still at the school.
Thanks for thanks.
Pardon? How long, Aaron? How long? Yeah. I've been a principal 30 years. I've got my first sabbatical in term 3.
Thank you for coming in on a Saturday, Scott. And
I'll do it a million times over. I really appreciate it. Thanks,
man. Good on you. Cheerio. Right, guys, we're going to have a breather until 2:25, okay?
and gentlemen, we're ready to crack on with this at 2:25. So we have Social Equity and Wellbeing Network. Welcome to Liz and Sarah. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming in on your Saturday.
Oh, thank you. Cool. Okay, tēnā koutou katoa, no taumira nui ahau, ko otatahi ki te kāinga anainei, ko Sarah Mackay taka ingoa. Hi everybody, my name's Sarah Mackay and this is my colleague Liz Hawes. We're from the Social Equity and Wellbeing Network. We used to be called the Council of Social Services. We've been in Christchurch for about 45 years, and in fact it was someone from City Council who really helped establish this organisation. We don't work with individuals and families. We work to support community groups across Otatahi, and we also work with decision makers on things like community engagement. So, yeah. So, where's the clicker? Is this it here? I'll just move on to here. Yeah. So we're here to do a submission on contestable funding. The first thing we wanted to do is thank you. We were involved, or basically we did the Weaving the East project, which was a city council project where we interviewed 40 community groups across the eastern suburbs. One of the questions we asked them was, what is the city council doing well? And what really stood out was groups are very grateful for the contestable funding that they do get, the Strengthening Communities funding, support from your community development advisors, your community boards, your elected members. So that was a key theme. So thank you for the funding and resources that you do put into the community. Okay, so one of the main things we wanted to get across is that these grants keep community organisations operational. They're not actually, they're not just sort of extras when it comes to, for many groups, they are just absolutely essential for them to continue to work in our communities. And that's the full range of great things that we see in community centres, drop-in services, community lunches. I'm sure that you're all aware of the great things our groups do out there in the community. And community groups also do work and things in our community that supports the work that council does, and it so can actually add to what you're doing and actually even save you money and resources. So, and then we really did want to stress what we all know after the earthquakes, which is the immense value of our community groups in terms of community resilience, and that, you know, you cannot build that infrastructure after disaster happens. And, you know, our community groups in the eastern suburbs, it was really interesting interviewing them, because if you think they were there for the earthquakes, they were there after the mosque shootings, they were there through COVID. Some of them are supporting community members around the wastewater treatment plant effects. They're going to be there if we have a fuel crisis. So they will keep going regardless, because that's what they do, and it's really important we don't take that for granted and they have that resourcing. And then I've just got some quotes that came from the Weaving the East research, just about the why that funding is so valuable. You know, we're really grateful for the funding. The support it provides is really important. It's an investment in resilience. And I have also got some groups talking about what would actually be lost in their community if that funding was lost and those groups were lost. And so, yeah, we just thought about it in terms of, you know, if a community organisation is receiving $20,000 and they had a 5% cut, you know, that's $1,000. For a community group, that's not a rounding area. That's actually a big deal for community groups. They tend to stretch money really far at the front line. So even what might seem like a small cut to, in some contexts, is actually a big deal at the front line. And then I just had two sort of case studies to share with you, just to sort of highlight some of the points I've made. So, and this is with permission, just to thank the South Shore Residents Association for sharing this with me. So this is just thinking about what they actually provide to the council in the role that they're doing. So yes, very grateful for the funding they get, but they have a newsletter that goes to every household, and the council can use that anytime. It's free to get information out to the community. They often handling questions that might otherwise go to the council, and sometimes can answer those questions without having to be done at the council level. They can provide local knowledge. They have a great relationship with the coastal ranger, who they really appreciate, and in fact they organise regular community working bees, so he can turn up, but they're providing a lot of people to help with that planting, and even monitoring environmental, what's happening in the community, feeding that back up to council. So as someone said, the council doesn't need to build a relationship with the hundreds of residents in the area, because the Residents Association already has those relationships. So, and then the second one, and here's some pictures that they shared. So the first one on the left is a couple weeks ago they did a community Easter egg hunt. So they're always doing, fantastic sort of social connecting events for the community, stuff that's happening that really helps build community connection and resilience. And the next one beside that is an event they partnered with Predator Free New Zealand, and they actually got the community building and then having predator traps around the community. So again, can really support council aims, but at a community level. And then the last one is Common Ground in South Brighton. I should say that I actually also volunteer at Common Ground, because I live 5 houses up from there. I run the community garden. And so it's quite dear to my heart. But I think this is a really good example. The shops were pulled down after the earthquakes in South Brighton, and it sat as an empty site with rubbish and graffiti. It really pulled you down when you walk past it in a prime spot. For the last 15 years, the community has got together, and we have turned it into a community green space with book fridges and a coffee cart and a small community garden, and we have food truck Fridays all through summer, 80 to 120 people turning up, supporting local businesses, community connections happening. And if Common Ground, if we weren't doing that work, it would just revert back to, a vacant site, which may even cost the council something. So I thought that would be another good example. And yeah, just some photos. You can see a little bit of that we started with a vacant site there, and we've had all these great, over the years, community working bees. You can see the community book fridge there up the top. There's a picture of the Food Truck Friday happening. That was down the corner where everyone's dressed up. We did a community op shop tour together with about 5 carloads of us. And then the person in the coffee cart, so we support a local business. That's Jimmy with his coffee cart that's supported through Common Ground. And then we've got some of our gardening there, so just want to include some photos. And then I'll just finish with a quote, because I always think it can be really helpful also to think that, these activities and things happening in our community can actually really have a significant impact on individual community members. So this is a quote from a local young person that I got from Common Ground, and she said, "I moved to South Brighton, I had minimal friends, I never really gone out there much, and what started as casual trips to the coffee shop turned into making new friends, and that turned out community-wise, like working bees and painting and community events and stuff. This means a lot to me because I finally feel like I fit in. I never felt like I'm really important. Now I feel like I've found somewhere and I can be myself." And it was really interesting because when I rang her to get a quote, she said, "Oh, I'd love to give you a quote, but can I call you back later? I'm just out doing bowling with a bunch of people in the community." So, it's such a great example of all this awesome stuff that's happening out there with our community groups. So, just to finish, we're asking you to maintain contestable grants, but actually, we actually want to add to that, and actually we want to lend our support to the people who are asking to raise grants by 3%. So maintain them, but it would be better if you could even raise them. And really that's just to acknowledge that there's been a lot of increase in price, that community groups are doing more with less, and there's more competition for the contestable grants, which I'm sure you already know. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. You're almost right on time, but I've got one Councillor Cartwright with a question for you.
Sure.
Fantastic. Look, thank you very much for that. I was particularly impressed with the photo where you're getting into the pest traps.
Yep.
That's fantastic to see. My question is, in and around your funding, does it represent, or how much of the council funding represents your total income?
So I'll probably speak more to just the groups who we work with, because we work with a lot of groups. So Strengthening Communities funding would be seen as a key funding for most groups in Christchurch. It would be a key part of their funding for grassroots groups, for them to keep
So
going.
over 50% of the money that comes into those organisations would come from council, or can be sourced from commercial activities?
Source from commercial activities. So when are you talking about, like, social enterprise?
All of it in general. Just, I mean, I'm
Yep.
I'm trying to put myself in your shoes
Yep,
around
absolutely.
how you might get
Yep.
some. If we can't help you,
Yep.
how you might be able to initiate.
So
initiate
generally,
some
these
income.
groups are getting funding through DIA, RATA, and Strengthening Communities, and Strengthening Communities is pivotal. There was ideas to see, can an organisation run a business on the side, but actually, realistically, that can actually waste money, because when we were doing that, the idea that it's hard enough to start up a business, let alone do it on the side of running a community group. And I've also never seen community groups working in such high need, such low resource. They're really mediating the cost of living at the front line. So I think we have to think realistically if we're expecting them to, say, generate their own income or necessarily be even able to get alternative sources of funding.
That's great, thanks. Look, and I acknowledge that you that you acknowledge running a business is not always profitable. So business owners face a hard time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your submission coming in on a Saturday. I think the case studies that you gave us with the photos and the particular information there is really useful context for just the impact, the funding, and also those quotes, particularly the one about the sense of belonging. Never underestimate how important a sense of belonging is. It's one of the founding building blocks of our strong communities. So thank you for giving your submission context. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
And next we have David. We've got David here for the Christchurch East Labour Electorate Committee. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
And who have we got with you, David?
We have Tim Baker.
Hello, Tim. Welcome.
Known to you as a long-standing community board member in Burwood Pegasus. Retired last year.
Gentlemen, the floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Yes, we'll cover some main points in 5 minutes and then leave the rest of the time for questions. First of all, congratulations on a number of issues, especially your rejection of the rates cap. And we urge you to continue to fight that, not just to modify it, but to stop it altogether. Work with the local rural councils, because it's clearly in the interests. And the fuel crisis, the price rise, is the latest example of the impracticality of that sort of a rates cap. Of course, the council's primary accountability is to the people who elect it, and it's those people who decide what the rates level should be. But in our opinion, the current annual plan is a step back in accountability in one respect. It doesn't tell us what progress the council is making annually towards the goals that are set out in the long-term plan. For example, did the council achieve its target of 20 kilometres of water main renewal last year? Where's information like that to be found for accountability purposes? What are the statistics for the use of cycleways in Christchurch? Are they achieving what the council is trying to do? There's none of that sort of accountability in this year's annual plan. Staff need to be accountable to elected members every year. And elected members need to be accountable to the public every year, not just every third year with a long-term plan. So we think the annual plan needs to have real performance measures on key issues, not on everything, but on key issues for accountability purposes. Housing. There are no stats about housing in the annual plan, but there was a briefing of councillors a few weeks ago, and the stats from that showed that before the earthquakes, the council had 2,649 units available for letting. Now, between Ōtautahi and the council, there are 2,488, 161 fewer than in 2010. And we think that sounds like failure. Those of you who take the press will know on this morning's paper there's a great big headline in which a real estate agent is glorifying the fact that you can sell batches in Arrowtown for $3 million. On page 14 of the press, there's an account about life in the red zone in Bexley where a number of people are living. And Tim and I, who's a real estate agent, agree that this is showing something fundamentally wrong in our New Zealand society. If some people can afford to pay $3 million for a batch in Arrowtown, and other people are homeless and living in that way. The councillors dragged the chain on housing for years. And if it's going to be part of the solution, rather than part of the problem, it needs to step up with cash. And we suggest 1% of the rates should be allocated to housing each year. If you go out and consult the people on that, I believe they would support it very, very strongly. But the council's never given the chance to the people of Christchurch to say, yes, we want some of our money to go towards solving the housing problem. Iconic buildings. I was rather sympathetic to the Mayor's statement personally when he said, let's get on and do the job. But we think that the current way in which the council is consulting the people, which buildings do you think are really important, won't really give the council any sort of guidance as to what to do. We suggest instead the council should come out with a plan, a feasible plan, on which it can consult the people. We've prepared a rough sort of scenario of borrowing, of a rate increase of 0.5% a year for 3 years. 0.5% a year for 3 years, and that would provide 250 million in order to carry out these goals. There's a copy of this scenario here, but you can look at it later, the detail, it's fairly detailed. Final point, savings. The main point we're making, the savings that we're suggesting, and of course we haven't got all the information about the background to these things, but they're just suggestions. The main point is that cost control has to start at the start of a project, not halfway through. It's no good bashing the staff after the horse is bolted. In other words, councillors and elected members and staff need to work together to agree at the start of a project on what is a reasonable and affordable cost for a project before you launch into it. Finally, the rate increase of 7.96%. If I were a councillor now, I'd be a bit uncomfortable about that, and I'm sure you are too. But under the circumstances where you're failing to meet your goal of funding a certain percentage of renewals from rates, while you are failing to meet that goal, and it's like the horizon, it recedes every year, while that's happening, really it is the responsible and prudent thing to do to have this large rate increase. That's all from me. We're happy to take questions on any of the issues.
Thank you very much, David. I've got Sam, who's the chair of our Finance and Performance Committee, so I'm sure he'll talk to some of the accountability and reporting.
Hey, thanks, David. Good to see you again. And I always enjoy your submissions. In terms of the, and you, Tim, as well. In terms of the accountability and the annual plan, do you see? And I don't know whether they were doing them when you were chairing F&P, but we have a performance report every month that comes to finance performance, and that's literally tracks all of our progress against all the levels of service we've set, and it's a public document. So Have you seen that? Because if not, I'll get someone to send it through.
Well, that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
I'd be very pleased to see that, be able to examine it.
Yeah, cool.
There may be more accountability at the council level than I think, but what I'm talking about is the members of the public.
Yep.
For ratepayers making a submission, it seems to me that a lot of the issues that you're consulting on are pretty trivial. Do you increase something by $300,000 or reduce it by $300,000?
Yeah.
Whereas the main issues are, as you know in the newspaper, are we achieving our goals for renewal of water mains, renewal of sewers, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
And the cycleways is a case in question. The council has concentrated for a number of years on major cycleways. I'm not opposed to that, but what about getting, well, to the South Brighton school where I live? Hardly any kids bike these days. So it's that sort of accountability which I think needs to be out there in the public and forefront of the councillors' thinking.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's really useful. I'll send you that and I'd be keen on any feedback.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barber.
Thank you, David. Always really interesting to hear from you, given your experience, etc. I really am interested in that point you made about whether the people of the city would be interested in, say, a 1% of rates going on housing. And it sort of begs the question, especially when we talk about the kind of the rats and mice that we're dealing with in the annual plan, do you think there'd be value in actually putting out a non-binding referendum to ratepayers, asking them a whole range of thoughts on different sort of issues like, should we put 1% of rates into housing? Should we sell this or sell that? To give us an idea of their wider thoughts on a number of big issues.
I hadn't thought of a non-binding referendum, but the chief executive will remember the days when the council used to do a proper citizen survey employing staff who would actually go to members on a random basis, a properly selected sample, and ask people questions and saying things like, now, each week $3 of your rates money is going towards roading. Do you think that's reasonable or not reasonable? It was a very good survey and it provided information.
We still do it.
We still do it.
And it's trending in the right direction.
I just think that, the questions need to be really macro. What are your thoughts on that? Just to get a really good guide of what people think about the bigger issues. They generally don't understand the complexity of some of the issues that we're actually dealing with.
The thing about this survey was that people were given information before they answered the question, as it were. Yeah.
And I think we'll find that we still do that with our survey. Perhaps we can arrange to send some results from our annual resident survey to your email address as well. We've got that. Thank you very much. We're out of time now. Thank you for coming in. Good. Thanks for taking time on your Saturday.
Thank you.
And some thought-provoking comments there for us to ponder. Thank you. So next up, we have John here. Welcome, John, from the Homes Group Limited. Hare. John, have I pronounced your surname correctly?
I've got used to responding to either, so
okay.
With here normally.
Well,
it's okay.
Welcome, John.
So yes, thank you. Thanks for being here, and thanks for having me talk to you. Brief introduction. I'm the managing director of Homes Group. Homes Group is a long-standing group of consulting engineers. Full disclosure, we are the consulting engineers for the cathedral, for the museum, and for the arts centre. And we've also at times worked in the provincial buildings. As I was sitting there earlier, I figured I have the dubious distinction of having crawled around in the roof space of each one of those over the last 40 years. I wanted to talk about the Christchurch's heritage buildings. I'm unashamedly here to talk about one topic, even though I realise there's lots of very important things to deal with. I'd like to start, though, before I get onto those buildings, just with a few examples, I think, that are relevant to the discussion of what can be done. If I reflect back to the Arts Centre, which became the Arts Centre back in about 1978, I think, some foresighted and visionary people back then determined that seismic risk was an important thing to deal with. And so I set about doing it with a very bootstrap, low-key, on a shoestring budget work. And I think for work which I recently looked up and discovered, in today's terms, $1.5 million worth of materials and the time of 3 carpenters was spent on the building. And that was, without that work, we wouldn't have the Arts Centre today. The important point being that you need to think about this investment, and we need to imagine Christchurch without the Arts Centre. I could talk about the old government buildings, the heritage apartments behind the square. Some of you will remember, no doubt, back in the day, that was a derelict building in the late 80s. The City Council purchased that for, I think, $750,000. We did work on that at the time to look at different ways of dealing with it. We spent $3.6 million strengthening the building, along with the work that Symphony did to turn it into the apartments. Come the earthquakes, the amount of damage to that building was relatively negligible, and so we saved that, and again, imagine the square without that building there. So I guess I'm here to say that a big part of Christchurch's identity is formed by these buildings. Yes, they were a point of history, a point in time, but they're an important part of our identity and something we need to think about as we consider what support we can give them. If I change focus for a minute, a big part of what these buildings bring to the city is, of course, also tourism. You'll know these numbers better than I do. I'm not a consultant in that area, but I can say that for a bit of research tells me $1.5 billion worth of revenue or GDP comes to Christchurch every year through tourism. 1 in 20 people out in the streets at the moment is a tourist. If we can increase the stay of those people by half a night, that's somewhere in the region of 350 to 400 million a year, and we're talking about spending 290 on these buildings. Now, I don't think we need to spend all of that 290 on these buildings necessarily, and we certainly don't need to spend it all in year one. We couldn't if we tried. But I think the important point is, I realise these are tough decisions we're grappling with. Money doesn't come from nowhere, and it's particularly short supply at the moment. But I think we have to consider what this means for Christchurch as a whole, and how we can use this and how we can get the city back together. Focusing on that tourism for a minute, I think we've had 15 years since the earthquake. Perhaps the notion that we're a brave city getting on its feet again and repairing itself is getting a bit tired. I think we would rather be the go-forward city that has done that as an example of what resilience looks like. If we look at that key, from a tourism perspective, that key axis of Worcester Boulevard, at the moment it's got hoardings at each end. We've got a generation of people growing up in Christchurch who won't remember Cathedral Square without the hoardings in the centre of it. Now, that maybe is an opportunity as well as a problem, but I think it's time we looked at this and thought about it. Until such time as we can deal with that, we can't unlock what we're doing with Cathedral Square. The heart of the city is empty. And so I think the big part of the message there, which I'm sure you appreciate, is we really need to find ways to work together to deal with that. I would acknowledge, I don't think it's practical to do all this work at once. Asking me to say which one of those buildings I prefer is sort of like asking someone to say which kid is their favourite, right? So, and you can do that provided not one of them isn't hearing that isn't your favourite, right? But I'd certainly point out that fortunately the provincial buildings, although I'd say that was actually the hidden jewel in the crown before the earthquakes, I'd look at it now and say, well, at least it's not going backward, even if it's not going forward. If we stop work on those other buildings, though, every time you stop and start work on a project of that scale, you add tens of millions of dollars to the cost. Furthermore, you've also add at least a year to stop and start and remobilise again. The work will never get cheaper than it was yesterday. It will only be more expensive tomorrow. So it doesn't matter how many times we go back and rethink that. And look, trust me, this is what I do for a living. It's always going to be the least expensive option to go forward as we are in the long run.
How are we tracking for time, John?
It looks like I'm out, so I could stop there. If there are any questions, happy to answer them. But
thank you, John. It's always good to hear from people who have professional and personal interest and experience in the projects that we are talking and that we're going to have to fund and seeking input from our residents on. Councillor McDonald has a question for you.
Thank you very much for coming in. I just wondered if you had a view around the, giving you background on it, the ducks side, and whether you think it would be feasible to delist it, bowl it, and put up a replica in terms of, as opposed to repairing it.
Well, speaking personally, I think I'd have trouble with my soul if we did that. But of course, it's feasible. I don't necessarily think that you'll put up anything of the same significance or the same sort of overall streetscape and appeal for less than the money with which we could fix it. So look, I haven't gone through the numbers of that. That's not an option I've even really thought about. But to my mind, we've got to be very careful. Sometimes we look at a large number to fix something, but we don't stop to think that what we put back in its place has to be good to justify putting it on that site. So I don't think we could build something of the the significance of that in that location for less money than we can fix it.
Okay, interesting.
Thank you very much, John, for coming in on a Saturday and sharing your thoughts and your knowledge with us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, and next up we have School Strike for Climate. We've got Sabrina, Brooke and Fiona, I think, but I'd be grateful if you could each point out who is who, please. Good afternoon, ladies.
Kia ora everyone, I'm Brooke, this is Fiona and this is Sabrina. We're from School Strike for Climate Ototahi. School Strike for Climate is a youth-led climate activism group, and we thought it's important to come talk to you guys in person today because we are the ones and the future generations that your actions and decisions will affect. It's important you hear from rangatahi's voices, and we have a few things we want to address in your annual plan.
Yeah, so mainly we want to talk about the Climate Resilience Fund and the potential proposal to pause funding for this year. So funding for climate resilience is obviously very, very important and is only going to become more important as climate change progresses. The current fund is great because, what am I saying? Yeah, so we need to prepare for the impacts that will occur from climate change, in parts of New Brighton, like the sea level rise over there's projected 23 centimetres of sea level rise, and in lower lying areas that almost doubles to 47 centimetres. These communities are often low income communities and they really, really need funding to help them mitigate the impacts of climate change. I think we need to take action towards this now so that we're not putting this burden on future generations. Because, do you want to say something?
Oh, yeah. Climate change is especially important to fund now, and if we don't fund it now, our current future generations are going to have to deal with this economic burden, and it's never gonna go away. So we have to do it eventually, because we keep putting it off. Generations, we were supposed to work on this the last generation, but we did not handle it efficiently. So,
and I think what we ignore when we talk about potential rates decreases, which is why you talked about pausing this fund, is that climate change is going to have a massive economic impact. So just decreasing rates now is not going to lift economic burden off of Christchurch residents because they're going to feel that in the future.
Yeah, just as they said, we can't keep delaying it. Climate change is going to have a massive impact on our city, and it is not worth pausing the Climate Resilience Fund.
Yeah. So. Do you want to? Okay, so there were also other aspects of the annual plan that we wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. So environmental partnerships was a big one, obviously relevant to us as School Strike for Climate.
Yeah. Environmental partnerships are only going to become more integral to the well-being and functionality of the city as climate change progresses. It is not worth compromising this for a 0.04% rate decrease, especially considering that mitigating climate change will also mitigate future economic harm to residents.
Yeah, and there's also the capital program that we wanted to talk about. I think the $598.9 million investment, and that is great. Even more investment would be good, because transport, like putting funding into stuff like bike lanes and public transport is again only going to become more important to the residents of Ōtautahi as climate change progresses and as we move away from the types of transport, the unsustainable types of transport that we use right now. The council have said they are committed to moving towards that sustainable future, that low emissions future, that zero emissions future, and investing in public transport and bike lanes and footpaths is the way to do this. Very important to doing this.
Let me just find the notes. Just a quick comment on the community grants. We think it's important to provide the 7.12 million in funding for these community grants, because these contribute to the well-being of Ōtautahi residents far more than a 0.04 rates decrease would. Also, just the rates in general. We think that it is worth increasing them, and because this will give us more funding for public services. Also about whether services should be funded by all ratepayers or just their users. We think it's really important that it's funded by all ratepayers, because often people who use public transport are lower income people, and it's not fair to have to put all of that onto them. These are things that are good for all of our city, and we think that it is important everyone contributes to this. Yeah, do we have anything else?
I think that's about it.
Yeah, do we have any questions?
Thank you very much. Your message is loud and clear. I've got a couple of questions with Councillor McDonald, followed by Councillor Barber.
Cool. Hey, thank you very much for coming in. I've asked everyone that's come in that's talked about the Climate Fund just around what you think the trigger point should be for using the fund. So when, do you have a view on how much it should build up, or at what point we should use it and for what on?
Currently it's 2030, yes? That's when it's meant to stop? Is that what you said? Sorry.
It's baked in to keep going.
Oh, is it? Yes. Apologies.
It just says we'll raise so much.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's more, I guess, just thinking about it, because I think you made some really interesting points. It's just, at what point do you think we should tap into the fund or start using the fund?
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, what do you think?
I think that honestly, as soon as possible. Like, we are in the middle of a climate crisis. You guys in 2019 set a goal to halve the emissions from 2017 by 2030, and we are not on track to meeting this goal. So I just think any climate action we can take as soon as possible is crucial to our future and Christchurch's future.
And if we think about, I'm from Little River, so I've seen the massive impacts of climate change and the flooding there. I think, it's really important. Like, we need to put money into having that fund right now would be really great for Little River, so that we can help get the community back on its feet and fix roads and stuff, because there were so many slips and.
I can see Tyrone smiling that he's got his hands on some money early. The other one was just, and it's more information because it'd be good to share with your network, is are you familiar with the new investment we're doing out at Bromley in terms of what that's doing to emissions? Are you across that? With the wastewater treatment plant halving the emissions?
Not entirely.
Okay, maybe we'll send you that, because again, it would be good if you could share that with your network, because we do a lot of the stuff you're talking about on a BAU basis now, so we should share that with you.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sam. Councillor Barber?
Well done, ladies. It's pretty tough to come into a cauldron like this and put your point across, and I give you a lot of respect for that. Just in terms of lowering emissions and things like that, your voice is very powerful, also in your families. Have you had any luck convincing your parents to look at things like electric vehicles and solar power and those? I say that because I'm new to an electric vehicle and solar power, and it's been great, but I'm interested in whether you've had success with your own families and your friends and their families, because your voice is very powerful.
Yeah, so my mum owns an electric car, which we got for the climate. I feel like my family is definitely shares views with me. I'm not sure. You guys? Yeah. I think, honestly, they were probably the ones that, started it, yeah. So I think, yeah.
For my family, since we live central, we can cycle a lot, so it's pretty easy for us to not have to use the car compared to Fiona who lives a little river. So it hasn't been too hard to stop using the car and kind of adjust. But
Well, I commend you for walking the talk, because that's a really important thing, and that's really attractive to people who want to join with you. So well done.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Thank you for that. We've got just a little bit of time left. Tyler, if you had one short question, perhaps.
Hey guys. Hey, I've just got a question around what you would think about prioritisation. So obviously there's more short-term things that we could do around mitigation and adaptation, like building seawalls, etc. And then there's the more long-term things.
Yeah.
Is there a, in regards to the fund that you're talking about, is there any uses that you'd like to see in regards to that? So would you like it to be put forward towards more things that we could do now for Little River, or think of it more long-term?
Tyler, I think that was sort of the gist of Sam's question.
I think
we've
honing in
answered
on it a bit more because it was a bit broad. So I'm trying to hone in on it.
Mm-hmm.
what do you guys think of native plantings for beaches?
Yeah.
I know marram grasses.
Do you want to talk now?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I know you guys are probably working on this at the moment for the coastal environment, like New Brighton, but we'd definitely like to see a lot more native plantings of say pinghau for the coast, rather than marram grass, which is very invasive and promotes erosion and not good health for New Brighton. So, you're in New Brighton.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely more of that.
Thank you very much, ladies, for coming and share your thoughts with us. Your message is loud and clear. And at the end of the day, it's very much a balancing act for us, and we'll be taking that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. And that would probably
That's good. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have the Christchurch Youth Council. I have to make sure we've got enough chairs for everybody.
Thank you. We can sort that as well. How are you?
Oh,
it's okay. I didn't realise I was going to end up next door. Do you want to shuffle over slightly? Yep.
Good afternoon. Lovely to see a strong turnout from our Youth Council. Perhaps you can introduce yourselves. You have 10 minutes, so the floor is yours.
Do you want to start with it? Just with your name.
Kia ora, ko Ruby Loves Wiwhaho.
Kia ora, ko Chloe Tokuingwa.
Kia ora, I'm Ashwini, I'm the Deputy Chair.
Talofa lava, my name is EJ.
Kia ora, my name's Tom.
Kia ora, I'm Lois, I'm the Secretary.
Good afternoon.
Tēnā koutou, thank you for having us this afternoon, and thank you for letting us, or squeezing us in on your very last slot today. We're here on behalf of Runakataiohi or Otatahi Christchurch Youth Council, representing rangatahi aged 12 to 24 from across the region. We're here to give our feedback on the annual plan, for which we've conducted an extensive consultation with young people, and we'll share their feedback and concerns today. Our feedback comes from consultation on social media, our youth takeover survey, which Ashwini will give a rundown of, and youth-focused workshops. All recommendations we present today are supported by young people who have shared their thoughts with us. We recognise that we won't be able to represent all rangatahi from across Otatahi Christchurch, but we aim to outline clearly the priorities of most young people and what we've heard as rangatahi ambassadors on the ground. We've seen positive interaction and interest from young people during our consultation, and many rangatahi have a good understanding of how council decisions will affect them in the long term.
We'd like to share some insights from our annual Youth Takeover survey, which we run alongside Youth Voice Canterbury. This survey captures the views, priorities and lived experiences of rangatahi from across the Waitaha region, and last year we received over 500 responses. This survey is part of how we ensure our advocacy is grounded in real youth perspectives and experiences, and we hope it will help ground your decisions in the same. From our 2025 data, the top issues that young people identified were, in order, well-being and mental health, education, cost of living, healthcare, employment, climate change, transport, housing, racism, and vaping. These issues do not exist in a vacuum and often overlap and interact, and in this way we see mounting pressures stacking up against rangatahi. Young people are consistently highlighting pressures that affect their day-to-day stability and quality of life. Things like mental health, education, cost of living pressures, and access to healthcare. At the same time, many rangatahi are also thinking about broader social issues, such as representation, belonging, and te tiriti or waitangi. What we're hearing is clear. Young people want a city where their basic needs are met, but they also want a city that reflects their values, where they feel seen, supported, and able to thrive. We hope you'll keep these voices in mind as you make decisions that shape the future of Ōtautahi.
Good afternoon. Council rates here in Ōtautahi have risen 26.5% over 3 years, and rangatahi are feeling it. This is shown in our annual Youth Takeover survey, which had over 500 respondents, with 164 flagging the cost of living as their top concern. We understand that rates sometimes do need to go up, as services come at a cost. This was expressed by youth we surveyed, with one respondent saying, and I quote, "Underinvesting now creates bigger costs down the line," end quote. But this does not make the situation easy. It's reported that nationally rates have risen by 12.2% over a single year in 2024. This is the largest increase seen since 1990 and significantly higher than the rate of inflation over the same period. Here in Christchurch, over a third of renter households are already spending more than 30% of their income on housing, with youth disproportionately renters, excluding them from the rebate scheme. Our position is that the rate increase will not only affect homeowners, it will also flow straight through to renters, who are often young people with little to no protection from it. The average household is now spending around $4,200 each year on their rates. This increase has to come from somewhere. For youth who are often already stretched through rent, bills, cost of living, and more recently, extortionate gas prices, there isn't much left. So we're not suggesting a freeze, rather just fairness and transparency about where the money goes, and real support for people who will end up feeling the rise the most.
We as the Youth Council and the young people we engage with do not support cutting climate funding. Climate change is not a distant issue for us. It's something we will live with for the rest of our lives. The decisions made today will shape the world that we inherit tomorrow. When climate funding is cut, it sends a message that long-term impacts matter less than short-term savings. But for young people, the environment isn't optional. It's our future, our homes, and our safety. As one person in our community said, this is a short-term gain for a long-term loss. The future of our environment shouldn't be a political council topic for debate. Secondly, we also want to make clear we do not support cutting community grants. Community grants support the spaces and services that keep young people connected and supported. They fund youth groups, activities, and organisations that provide belonging and well-being, especially for those who might not find it elsewhere. These aren't luxuries, they are essential investments in healthy communities. Cutting council grants doesn't just remove funding, it removes opportunities, safe spaces, and support networks for young people that they rely on. Young people care about these issues, and we are paying attention to the choices being made. We want to see decisions that protect our future and strengthen our communities, not weaken them.
Maro lava. Views on selling council assets are mixed. Some see it as a quick financial fix, and others worry about losing long-term value. Because of this, we need to be careful and think beyond short-term gains. Before selling anything, the council should focus on saving money internally. That means reducing administrative costs, reviewing high salaries to ensure fairness, and cutting duplication where roles are overlapping. We also need to work more efficiently, making better uses of existing resources. Selling assets should be the last resort, not the first option. If we manage our spending wisely from within, we can protect our assets while still supporting our communities long term. Whawhatai.
CYC's mission is to engage young people from across Ōtautahi Christchurch in local advocacy, civic platform and community participation. Like many other council-affiliated organisations, CYC is feeling the squeeze of increasing essential costs to run our council. Any other funding or support from the City Council for CYC will be most welcome. While we try our best to engage with rangatahi from across the city, a strained budget is compromising our ability to expand our advocacy and reach. Soon, we'll be introducing local youth forums, which we hope will deepen our relationship with Council and yourself as City Councillors. We are your rangatahi ambassadors. We know how to reach rangatahi in your communities, and we welcome any opportunity to work more closely with CCC to advocate and represent more young people in our city.
Kia ora. The Christchurch Youth Council strongly supports the council funding the Canterbury Museum. For many rangatahi, families and the wider community, the museum is more than just a building, it's a real third place. A third place is somewhere that isn't home, school or work, but it's a place where you can go just to be. These spaces are very valuable, and the museum is one that is free, accessible and safe. The museum is also a space to include young people from all backgrounds. Accessibility is a big part of why this matters. It is very important that the space is accessible so that everybody is included. For disabled young people, this is crucial for them, and we want to include all young people, and this is an essential step. The museum also helps people connect with their culture, te ao Māori, te tiriti o Waitangi, and the history of Aotearoa. These things are important because they help rangatahi understand our country and to learn more than what is taught in the schools. From what we have heard, young people genuinely value the space. We have had people say that they find the museum affordable and somewhere where I have spent a lot of my weekends as a child, and that shows why the museum is so vital to our young people. At a time where there are cost of living pressures, mental health challenges, and more, having a safe space like the museum matters more than ever. We are asking the council to prioritise funding for the Canterbury Museum, followed by the Arts Centre. Thank you.
CYC strongly supports continued investment in heritage and cultural spaces that are accessible, youth-friendly and genuinely used by the community. The Canterbury Museum is an incredibly important third place for the rangatahi of Ōtautahi, as Chloe said. Many of us have great memories from the museum as children, and its long closure has been a real loss for our city's cultural life. Besides that, the museum is very important as a site of cultural heritage and local history. It connects us to where we've come from and helps us understand our region, te ao Māori, and the world beyond our windows. We have a collective responsibility to safeguard, teach, and remember our history. Continued investment in the museum is an investment in identity, learning, and the community, and community belonging.
We want to be really clear about what we're asking for. Please protect important services, continue climate funding, and don't cut community grants that support young people and our well-being. Please be fair with rates, fund the museum, invest in Christchurch Youth Council, but most importantly, keep listening to young people. Young people are already feeling the impacts of these decisions, and we will be the ones living with the outcomes for decades to come. Above all else, what we are asking of you today is to care about the future of our young people, to care about the young people in your lives and in your communities. You are the people with the power to ensure they grow up in a city that is safe, supportive and exciting. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our rangatahi today.
Thank you very much. I'm very impressed with your timeliness. We're right on time. Thank you for taking the time to make a submission. Thank you for taking the time to come in on a Saturday nonetheless. We do appreciate your mahi, and particularly the extensive engagement and consultation you do with your rangatahi to ensure that your submissions are evidence-based, because they are personal and they are impactful. Councillor Moore has one question for you.
Well, you've actually answered my question in your excellent submission around prioritising the museum. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And so our hearing is adjourned now until 11:15 on Tuesday, the 14th of April. Thank you everyone for coming in today. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your